let's talk about the all-new Tesla Model 3 refresh. All right, so today we're sitting in the refreshed Tesla Model 3. This is the long-range dual motor. So it's very similar to the vehicle that we currently have, which is a Tesla Model 3 as well, a dual motor long range. But this, of course, looks a little bit different because it is the new refresh. It was codenamed Highland, but it's not officially the name. But this has a lot of changes that are small but add up to a big difference. And honestly, I was skeptical going into this. Would it really be enough of a difference for someone who owns a Model 3 to think that this is a worthy upgrade? But after living with this car for a little bit, I really think it might be. All right, so of course, this is a bit of a comparison between the Model 3 that originally came out and did have a bit of a refresh to this overhaul of Model 3. This Model 3 has a lot of changes aesthetically and mechanically and functionally. The new Model 3, of course, looks different. You have updated headlights with no more fog lights, but you still get those matrix LEDs for the high beams. So once it's approved in the US, you will have the ability to block out oncoming cars while still continuing to use your high beams. You do have a slimmer design with new turn signals and such on the front. And on the rear, you have a new all-in-one rear taillight. So instead of it being two pieces like it previously was, now it is one piece that moves with the tailgate. This also means hopefully better reliability in terms of those taillights not getting condensation on the inside like ours did. And honestly, they do look quite a bit better. You also have some more updates when you come to the bumpers. So the front bumper is of course even more simplified, and actually the rake of the front of the vehicle is a bit steeper. It does go a bit lower, but I don't think that will cut into your front space too much. Now moving to the back of the vehicle, you do have a new rear bumper with a new diffuser, and on the performance model, this one is more pronounced. However, when we move to the sides of the vehicle, there really aren't any changes except for with the new wheels. So you do have a slightly different design on the wheels with the standard wheels and the upgraded alloy wheels. They do come in an 18 and a 19-inch variant, with the performance, I believe, having the 20-inch updated performance style rims that, honestly, I kind of like the previous Uber turbine ones a little bit better. Now, a lot of the changes do come on the interior of the vehicle. This is where I'm sitting right now, and you can probably see that even from the seats, we do have a bit of a change. So these seats are now perforated with ventilation and heating, so you don't anymore have to worry about being super hot. We're here in Florida. When you get in the car and you're back sweating, you don't have to worry about that anymore because you have ventilated seats that work quite well. Of course, the seats are still heated in addition to being ventilated, and this can be all controlled automatically with the climate control, so you don't have to worry about fiddling with it when you get right into the car. If you have it set to auto, the ventilated seats will turn on. Now, you also have an updated speaker system, which you can see along here, and here, down there, and even up above. So right here, this is a 17 speaker system now, which, let me tell you, sounds really good. Now you also get an updated center console area right here. So new cup holders and cover with new sliding areas, and I noticed that my hand actually goes in here as well, which was not a case with the previous Model 3. And of course, it's no longer gloss black or a gray matte, which ours is in. It's more of a texture, which I don't know if you can see here very well, but it's like little dots. And so you get that texture here, but also up here on the dash, which leads me to the next point. This piece of trim right here is actually fabric, and this fabric is the new trim if you get the black seats. No longer is the wood an option. And if you get white, it's just a white piece of plastic. And then on the performance, you're going to get carbon fiber going along here. Another little touch I do quite like is on the steering wheel, you get also the touch of the new material with metal here that is cold, so that's nice. But that also leads me to the new steering wheel. Look at that Tesla logo. Instead of getting the T here, you get this updated steering wheel, which is more similar to the Model S, and you get turn signals on the steering wheel, which were kind of tough to get used to in the beginning, but later became a bit easier. Although when you're turning the steering wheel a bit and making maneuvers and you want to hit these, it can be a bit difficult. Now, what I've noticed between this steering wheel and the one on the Model S is that the one on the Model S actually has capacitive touch, whereas these ones are physical buttons that you push down. And that is probably the main difference you have. Also, having the horn here in the middle is really nice. As we move our way to the door cards, this piece simply seems to be a complete carryover from the previous model. But as you can see, updated door cards with a lot more soft touch material, Alcantara-esque material, more soft touch up here with the ambient lighting, which you can have in any color you desire, and updated buttons here for the door release, which also you can see here, this notch down here allows for a better seal with the door. So you get a door that feels like a luxury car, less so like an economy car, like that Chevy Cruze next to us. And you get, much like the Model Y, Model S, and Model X, you get a soft material here in the door pockets so that when you have stuff in the door pockets, it's not rattling around and making noise in the vehicle. So now I want to take a little look at the new perforated seats with ventilation. So these seats, as you can see, have a slightly different design, but mostly the difference is in these perforations that you can see here. And so this allows, on a hot summer's day, for your body to cool down, not only with the perforations, but with the ventilation that's built into the back and bottom parts of the seat, which is controlled through the screen right here. So if we go in here, and here you can see now you have an option for heat or cool. And it does work quite well. It does have the heat pump, which was an update prior to this model coming out. You also have your wireless chargers, 1 and 2, and I feel like these do work a bit better than previously. Previously, they just would heat up my phone and not charge it much. These ones heat up my phone, but also charge it. So a bit of an improvement on that end. One more difference I noticed up here in the front is that this is now a magnet and not a latch, much like the more premium models. Of course, you do have updated Tesla Vision, so you get those side marker cameras, the pillar cameras, and all the other cameras that come with this vehicle. Let's make our way into the rear seat, where you can see a very important update. You now have a rear seat screen where you can control your climate, your seat heating, which no more seat heating on the middle seat here. So that's a little bit sad to see, but of course many cars don't have that anyway. But a cool thing is that you can actually control this seat right here. So if you have someone sitting here, you're chauffeuring or whatever, now you got a lot more space, and then you can put it back as you desire to its previous position. So that's a really cool feature. And of course you can control music, you can control your various streaming platforms if you so desire, and even play games such as backgammon. So this is really cool. And of course you have the settings here. You can even add Bluetooth devices from the back. So if you want someone to play their music from back here on a road trip, no more do you have to fiddle with the screen up front. You can just do it all from back here. So here you can adjust where the air goes, which is really cool. You can even shut it off. And then you can adjust here if you want your air going down, high, or low, and the fan speed here. I want to mention that also there are two USB-C ports here with the vents coming out here. Really nice to see on a car in this class at this price point. And you have an updated center console area right here. So new cup holders. Unfortunately, still no middle through loading, which I would have loved to seen for skiing and such, but you still get those tether points for car seats and speakers back there on the parcel shelf. And the trademark Model 3 one-piece window, which is so wonderful. But I will say, probably get some shades. That's what we did, is get some mesh shades that go on both for the summer, because it does become quite hot. Here you can see the ambient lighting in the rear seats. So this is the only strip of ambient lighting you get, as it continues all the way around the front of the vehicle. You do get the perforated seats back here. However, they are not cooled, just heated. But I do like the new design a bit more, and you still get the lined door pockets to reduce noise, the updated release, and the updated doors with increased soft touch material, but again, no more wood. So another new feature is if you walk up to the rear of the vehicle and you stand there, it will open the rear hatch automatically and touchless if you have your hands full. But let's go check out the new rear of the Model 3. As you can see, the taillights move with the rear hatch now, which leaves kind of a blank space right here. But otherwise, it is very similar to previous models. Still get a bunch of space down here, and you get the door pockets on each side. But something that does differ is on this side. In the previous model, that's where the subwoofer was kept, but now they've moved the subwoofer so you get extra storage on the side. And of course, it is, oh, this is also lined, which is new. So the back of the hatch is also lined, and I've noticed actually most of it is, except for the top here, but you can see the bigger speaker drivers, and well, it is still powered, so let's close that up. And that is the new rear of the Model 3. All right, now that we've talked a little bit about what's updated on the inside, outside, cosmetically, let's talk about what's changed mechanically. So we do have updated suspension and suspension architecture, which, you know, I was really wanting to try out, because although the Model 3 is really great and pretty sporty feeling, in terms of comfort, especially on a long-range model, not a performance model, it just didn't feel very premium where it is priced. But now, I mean, it's truly premium feeling in terms of its ride. It's very comfortable, a huge departure from previous. They've also increased the sound deadening, so it is a bit quieter in here as well. And these are things that are noticeable. I wasn't sure how noticeable they would be coming from a Model 3 after the refresh, the mid-cycle refresh, should I say. And it is quite noticeable. I did also drive a Model S, dual motor long range, the current 2024 model, yesterday for a little while. And I will say it does make it much more difficult to justify paying almost double for a Model S when this one is quite close. You don't get the adaptive air suspension, but the suspension is quite compliant. Still sporty, but also still very comfortable. Another thing is the motors and the batteries. So they have been reconfigured a bit so that you can get increased range. So it's quoted at 341 miles for the long range model, which is a bit more than previous, but we should see that that range is a bit more realistic than the previous ones, as they were adjusted a bit last year. Otherwise, you know, you get a bit updated steering. However, it does feel still very similar with that low center of gravity. Very good in the corners, I will say. Still quite quick. And the new performance model does get a increased, or should I say decreased, 0 to 60. So it is faster now. It is, I believe, 2.9 seconds, 0 to 60, which is an improvement upon the Model 3 performance of yesteryear. And you get updated interior, like I mentioned, with that carbon fiber trim, but also different sport seats. So that's also really nice to see. Increased differences, whereas the Model 3 Performance previously, really on the interior, you wouldn't know the difference. It was only when you looked at the wheels, the slightly lower ride height, and the carbon fiber lip spoiler. So another big change that came to the Model 3 was there is no more gear shift stock. It is all controlled through the screen with a backup also below the wireless charger. However, this means that now you can use the auto shift out of park feature, which means if you want to go forward, then you just put your foot on the brake and it will go forward. But as you saw, I just used my finger, swiped up, put it in drive. You swipe down, it'll go into reverse, and then you hold the bottom and it'll go into neutral. But it does take some getting used to for sure, and when you're trying to make quick parking maneuvers, I do notice it is a bit cumbersome. Here you see I'm filming, so it looks even more cumbersome, but I would say just normal driving, trying to parallel park, things like that, it does take a little bit longer just because it's not very natural, and you do have to get the spots pretty accurately. But overall, it's fine once you start getting used to the shift out of park feature, where it will just shift based on what it remembers you doing prior to parking. Another big part of owning a Tesla is of course using the full self-driving autopilot. So of course we tested that out. And here you can see it driving in the full self-driving mode, navigating to a destination I had put in prior. So once you put in a destination, it will take you there, essentially parking lot to parking lot. Now, it is currently, as you can see on the screen, doing a right-hand turn in a busy intersection. No problem, all on its own. It will do lane changes. It puts on the signal and everything beforehand, and you can set how aggressively you want it to drive. You can be cautious, middle of the road, or aggressive. Here you also see a new feature, which oddly Tesla was missing, which is a blind spot monitor. It is just a little red dot in the left speaker or the right speaker, but it is a nice thing to have, and it is going to be a government mandate as well. But that flash of red on the screen was also a blind spot monitor. Here you can see us going through a large intersection with 3 lanes turning left. It, took it very cautiously. It did not go into other lanes, but it also maintained the flow of traffic. And if you didn't know that autopilot was on from the outside, it would look like just a normal person was driving. And here you can see it making that lane change so that later it can do a left turn on this busy roadway, which is 3 lanes on each side. This is where it's really impressive. It actually does a left-hand turn into a neighborhood on a busy 3-lane street, which I believe the speed limit is around 40 miles an hour. So you have cars coming from pretty far. I do need to periodically touch my hand to the steering wheel for it to know and recognize that I'm still paying attention, of course. But overall, using this software has been a really great experience. And here you see it finishing that turn. The visualization is also really nice to see. So it gives you that comfort that the car sees a lot, and it sees pretty much what you see. And it can even see things that maybe you don't even see. And that is very impressive. It can even distinguish what type of car it sees, all the lane depictions. It's very impressive. So overall, the full self-driving is very cool, with only a few times where I had to intervene. All right, so now we're going to test out the parking features of this vehicle. So as you can see, it has listed out all the parking spots here. So we're going to click on the farthest one, and we're going to hit start. And now it's going to start, put on the signal, get in position, as you can see here. And of course, it is aware of its surroundings. We'll go in reverse. We'll start backing it up. And there you have it. All good to go. Now, something that's pretty important, especially in this segment and with how EV prices have dropped so much, is the price. I'm making this review right now, especially because Tesla has just announced that the Model 3 long-range dual motor does now qualify for the $7,500 tax credit, which really helps on the price because it does come at a bit of a premium compared to the outgoing Model 3, which was being discounted quite a bit. So it's nice to see that it now qualifies. Previously, it was just a performance model. The performance model starting at over $54,000, which is more than the Model Y performance. So I do see that they are pricing these a bit higher than the non-refreshed models. So really interesting to see how much more the Model Y performance will be once that is updated, probably later this year or early next year. All right, well, it's getting pretty hot out here, so I'm going to wrap up this review. Thanks again for watching. Please like it and subscribe. This has been the new Model 3 long-range dual motor refresh, and let me know what you think. Is it worth, upgrading if you already have a Model 3, especially with prices that have come down so much? And do you think the Model S kind of doesn't have a place in the lineup anymore, with this having most of the features and capabilities of that vehicle? I'll catch you in the next one.